I found out the hard way that in this world, love doesn't always mean loyalty. My name's Tyler. I'm 32. I live in Decatur, Georgia. It was just me and my dad after my mom died of ovarian cancer when I was 7. She went quick, stage 4 before they even caught it. After that, Dad did what he had to do. He ran a little truck repair shop off Candler Road, worked double shifts, and still managed to make my lunch every morning. He'd come home covered in grease, dead tired, and still ask how my day was. The man didn't know how to quit. I wasn't the loud kid. I kept my head down, did my work, kept to myself. School didn't come easy, but I stayed out of trouble. Girls weren't really on my radar. After what happened to my mom, I figured love had an expiration date. I never saw long-term as something for me. After high school, I didn't go to college. Couldn't afford it. Didn't care to. I got into freight logistics, started on the phones, worked my way up. Took every crap job nobody else wanted, just to prove I could handle it. By the time I hit 30, I was operations manager at a brokerage firm in Atlanta. Made decent money, finally moved out of the one-bedroom I'd been renting. That's when everything started. We had this regional logistics conference downtown, some real corporate fluff, nothing exciting. Afterward, a few coworkers dragged me to a bar near Centennial Park. I didn't want to go, but I figured, screw it. One beer, then I'm out. That's when I saw her, Natalie, sitting at the bar, laptop open, bourbon neat in front of her. No makeup, just a navy blazer, dark jeans, and these boots that said she didn't take crap from anybody. She looked settled, like she knew exactly who she was and didn't care who liked it. One of my guys from work made some dumb joke about consultants always drinking alone. She smiled, closed her laptop, and joined us like she'd known us for years. I didn't think I had a shot, but the crazy part, she kept showing up. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. She'd pop by the office, drop off coffee, send dumb memes. Not pushy, just present. It felt weird at first, foreign. But I started looking forward to it, and for the first time in my life, I caught myself hoping love might actually stick around this time. We didn't jump into it all at once. It started with casual stuff, burgers at Holman and Finch after work, a couple weekend hikes out at Sweetwater Creek, movie nights on her tiny sectional in Midtown, feet tangled up under a shared blanket. She liked whiskey, hated olives, and always fell asleep halfway through the movie. I started bringing my overnight bag without thinking about it. I figured it was a fling. No way a girl like that was sticking around. Natalie came from Buckhead money. Old brick house, actual maid, Christmas cards with gold foil, private school, tennis camps, junior cotillion. Her dad ran a finance firm that catered to high net worth clients, and her mom wore pearls like it was still 1962. I showed up the first time in boots and a flannel. I remember her mom's face, like I'd brought a live raccoon into the living room, but Natalie, she stood next to me, hand on my arm, and said, "This is Tyler. He builds things." She never made me feel less than, not once. "Your world's fancy," I told her once. "And yours is honest," she said back. "I'll take honest." I should have questioned that more. We kept doing our thing. She worked long hours in IT consulting, always traveling or on Zoom calls with some team in London or Dubai. I ran dispatch schedules and managed drivers that couldn't figure out time zones. We'd meet back at her place around 8, make frozen pizza, pass out halfway through whatever show she picked. It felt real. 14 months in, I had a toothbrush in her bathroom, half my closet in her hallway. I came home one night to her slicing zucchini at the stove, wine in one hand, hair tied back with one of my old bandanas. "Let's do this," she said. I was like, "Do what?" "This," she said, pointing between us. "Let's get married." I blinked. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," she said. "We're already doing the hard part." Why wait? She didn't want a diamond, didn't want a big ask, just said she wanted to build something with me. I said yes, I was scared, yeah. But I meant it. Next day I drove down to my dad's shop. Told him while we were eating leftover barbecue out of foil on the workbench. The man sat back, looked me dead in the eye, and teared up. "You're the last of our line," he said. "She better be worth it." I nodded, but something about the way he said it stuck in my ribs. He asked if I needed money for a ring or a venue. I told him no. I didn't care about all that. I just wanted a roof, a garage, Maybe a backyard. Something simple, something we built. We started looking at fixer-uppers down near East Atlanta, houses with sagging porches and busted gutters. She said she didn't mind rolling up her sleeves. That's what she told me. And for a while, I believed her. The day came quicker than I wanted. Natalie scheduled dinner with her parents for a Thursday night. Said it was just a casual meet and greet. Nothing heavy. I didn't believe that for a second. Their place was up in Buckhead, tucked behind iron gates and boxwood hedges, the kind of house that looked like it should come with staff. White columns, black shutters, brick driveway, and a perfect circle around a stone fountain. It screamed money. I wore my best, gray button-up, clean jeans, polished boots. Brought a bottle of small batch bourbon I picked up from a distillery out near Covington. Figured it was a nice touch. Southern, thoughtful, not cheap. Helen opened the door with this frozen smile, eyes scanning me like I'd tracked in something. She didn't take the bottle, just stepped aside. "Shoes off, please," she said. Natalie was already inside, sipping white wine on the couch like she lived there. Richard didn't stand when I walked in. No handshake, no hello. Just nodded toward the sitting room and said, "Let's talk." I sat on the edge of a cream-colored couch that felt like it cost more than my truck. Helen perched across from me with a plate of olives and crackers. Richard leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "So, Tyler," he started. "No college, right?" "No, sir. Went straight to work after high school." He grunted. "And what exactly do you do?" "I manage freight operations at a brokerage in Atlanta. Handle the driver network, build lanes, manage KPIs." "So, trucks," Helen cut in. "You work with trucks?" I nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Logistics." Richard tilted his head. "Your father still rents, doesn't he?" I clenched my jaw. "He does. Shops on leased land. Been there 30 years. "No investments?" Helen asked. "No stock portfolio?" "I've got a 401k and a Roth IRA, I said. Started saving early." She blinked like I'd said I kept gold bars in my mattress. Then she looked at Natalie and said, "You do understand, Natalie, that you're our only daughter. You're our investment." That word hit me sideways. Investment. Like she was a startup. Like I was a gamble. I turned to Natalie, expecting something. Anything. A smile. A shake of the head. "Mom, stop." Nothing. She just swirled her wine and looked down like she'd seen this play out before. Richard leaned back. "This marriage, if it happens, will change the trajectory of your life. Are you ready for that responsibility?" I stared at him. I wasn't aware love came with a ledger. He didn't laugh, just stared. Helen finally took the bourbon bottle, turned it in her hands like it was toxic. "We drink scotch, but—" "Thank you." Natalie stood and smoothed her dress. "Dinner's ready," she said. Nobody moved. Eventually, Helen sighed and got up to lead us to the dining room. Natalie brushed past me, didn't make eye contact. I followed like I was being marched to the principal's office. Dinner was steak, asparagus, and a salad that tasted like cold lemon water. Nobody talked much. Richard asked if I'd considered night school. Helen said nothing, but kept glancing at my hands, calloused, scarred from years under hoods and engines. Natalie never opened her mouth unless it was to eat. On the way out, Richard said, "We'll be in touch." Like it was a business deal. Helen didn't walk us to the door. In the car, I waited for Natalie to say something. Anything. She just buckled up and turned on the radio. We got back to her condo and didn't speak for the first 10 minutes. She kicked off her shoes, grabbed a bottle of white from the fridge, and sat on the couch like nothing had happened. I stood there in the kitchen, keys still in my hand. "They basically told me I'm not good enough," I said. She didn't even look up. "They're just old-fashioned." "Old-fashioned?" I laughed once. "They interrogated me, Nat. Like I was applying for a loan. They don't know you yet." I stepped around the counter. "You heard what your mom said. You're our investment. That's how they see you. And me, I'm what? Risk?" She exhaled, slow. "They're not used to people like you." For the first time, I felt her siding with them instead of me. I stopped cold. "People like me?" She paused too long. "You mean working class? Blue collar, no inheritance, no country club tie?" She didn't answer, just sipped her wine. And that silence said everything. Planning the wedding turned into a full-time job, and not for us. Helen hijacked the guest list, brought in her event planner, booked a black tie venue without asking. She said rustic weddings were cute for Instagram, but not appropriate for a woman of Natalie's standing. She picked a caterer that charged per garnish. She sent me a passive-aggressive email about my dad's boots after seeing a photo of us at the engagement brunch. Maybe your father could invest in some formal wear, it read. Natalie called it just her tone. Every time I brought it up, Natalie waved it off. They'll come around. It's not worth the drama. Just let it go. She always said it like I was the one rocking the boat. I kept waiting for her to push back, defend me, say something. But she just kept letting them steer the whole thing. One night I was under the truck with my dad, changing out the fuel line. Grease in my hair, busted knuckles, music low on the shop radio. He handed me a rag, sat on a crate next to the jack stand. She seems smart, he said. Polite too. I waited. But something's off, he added. That house, that whole setup, doesn't feel like your world. I didn't respond, just kept wiping my hands. He leaned back. You sure she's marrying you, or just escaping them? I looked up. Because there's a difference, he said. One's love, the other's convenience. I tightened the last bolt and rolled out from under the truck. I don't know, I said. Maybe both. He didn't push, just nodded once and handed me a beer from the fridge in the corner. We sat in silence, the kind that says more than words. That was the first time I really wondered if I'd gotten in too deep. The next night was the rehearsal dinner, Helen and Richard's country club, of course. Big stone pillars, valet out front, live jazz playing in the cocktail room like we were hosting the damn governor. I pulled in behind my dad. He stepped out of his pickup, wearing his best slacks, a tucked-in polo and clean brown loafers. Fresh shave, hair combed, looked good, solid. Helen spotted him from across the room and gave him the kind of look you save for something stuck on your shoe. Up, down, eyes lingering on the polo like it had stains, when it didn't. Thanks for coming, she said flat, barely moving her lips. My dad nodded politely. Nice place, he said. Smells like new carpet. She turned without a word and walked off. Natalie showed up 10 minutes late in a fitted black dress and heels that clicked like a clock. She kissed my cheek, asked if I was ready for the circus. You mean dinner? I asked. She laughed, didn't answer. We got seated at this long banquet table under a chandelier that looked like it cost more than my dad's truck. The waiters brought out duck confit like that was normal food. Everyone smiled too hard. Conversations felt forced, like nobody knew what the hell to talk about unless it involved hedge funds or wine pairings. My dad tried to chat with Richard about cars. You ever work on a 70s Mustang? They're a pain in the ass, but Richard cut him off. I lease mine. Not really into tools. Half an hour later, during the toasts, Richard stood up with a glass of champagne and that tight politician's smile. We're thrilled Natalie found someone she connects with, he said. It's always heartening to see upward mobility through marriage. Laughter, light, nervous. My stomach dropped. I looked at Natalie, waiting, begging really. Just say something. Set the record straight. Show me I'm not crazy. She clinked her glass to his and smiled. Didn't even blink. After dessert, I grabbed her hand and pulled her outside to the parking lot. It was cold, sky full of stars, and my chest was on fire. I'm thinking about backing out, I said. She froze. Excuse me? I'm dead serious. Your dad just told a room full of people that I'm a step up for you, like I'm some kind of career move. He didn't mean it like that, she said. Yes, he did. She crossed her arms. It's just one night, Tyler. Don't overreact. I stared at her. So that's your line now? Let it go? Again? She didn't say anything, just turned and walked toward her car. I stood there a long minute before heading to mine. Didn't sleep at all that night. Laid on my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling fan spin in slow, uneven circles. Around 5:30, I heard the front door creak open. My dad came in holding 2 mugs, handed me one. Black coffee, burnt like always. He sat on the edge of the bed and looked me in the eye. You don't have to do this, he said. Not for her. Not for them, I said nothing. He reached out and gripped my shoulder. You're enough, kid. Always have been. That hit harder than any slap. I nodded once, gritted my teeth, and finished the coffee. Something inside me was already cracking. The day came like a freight train I couldn't stop. Historic venue in Midtown. Tall windows, exposed brick, overpriced floral arrangements exploding out of every corner. White chairs in perfect rows. Aisle runner, smoother than my first apartment carpet. Everything spotless. Everything fake. I stood in front of that altar in a rented tux, watching guests file in. Heels clicking, bow ties adjusted, cameras out. I felt like I was floating above the room, watching someone else live my life. Natalie walked down the aisle like she was walking a runway. Flawless, cold, controlled. I said the words. I kissed the bride. We posed for pictures like cardboard cutouts, smiling on command, dead behind the eyes. But my gut was screaming. Reception kicked off in the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, cocktail bar lined with labels I couldn't pronounce. Natalie disappeared into her circle, laughing at whatever Helen whispered in her ear. My dad stood near the back, nursing a beer, giving me that look he gave when the brakes were about to go out. Tight-lipped, tense, quiet. By the time toast rolled around, the wine was flowing heavy. Helen had already downed 3 glasses, and Richard was laughing at his own jokes like a man who never got told no. The DJ handed Helen the mic. I didn't see it coming. She tapped it twice, stumbled a little, and grinned like this was her big moment. "Let's be real," she said. "We all know Natalie could have married a senator. Or a surgeon. But she chose Tyler." I clenched my jaw. "She better get a prenup," Helen went on. "Because if you're gonna hitch yourself to a man with 4 wrenches and a rusty truck, you better at least make sure he signs over his earnings." A few people gasped. One guy actually laughed. My heart pounded in my ears. I looked at Natalie. She didn't flinch. Didn't reach for the mic. Didn't say a word. Just looked away. Then Richard stood up. "Should have asked us before buying that cheap tux," he said, raising his glass. "Might have pointed you toward a tailor." My chair scraped back before I even knew I was standing. My dad beat me to it. He walked up to the mic, slow and steady. Took it from Helen like he was picking up trash. Looked around the room, then dead at the 2 of them. "You 2 disgust me," he said, loud enough for the back row to hear. "And for the record, your daughter's marrying a man who worked his ass off, who never took a handout, who fixes what's broken and doesn't walk away when things get hard." He looked at Richard. "Your boss, Tom Whitaker, grew up just like me. Small house, single mom, grease under his nails. I wonder how he'd feel hearing what you just said." The room went still. Richard's face drained. Helen took a step back like she'd been slapped. I looked at Natalie again. She stood there frozen, bouquet in one hand, eyes glassy. No apology, no pushback, just blank. Like someone pulled the plug and the screen went black. The silence dragged. Everyone was watching. I took one step forward. My dad handed me the mic. I looked around, looked at her. I wasn't done yet. I walked up, took the mic from my dad, and looked out at the crowd. "Thanks for coming," I said, voice steady. "But this wedding's over." Gasps, forks dropped, cameras came up. I turned to Natalie. She didn't move. "You let them humiliate me. You let them humiliate my dad. And you just stood there. I won't spend my life being someone's project." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Too late. I handed the mic to the DJ, nodded to my dad, and we walked out together. Past the flowers, the string quartet, the stunned faces. I heard someone whisper, "Is this real?" It was. We walked into the parking lot like it was any other Saturday night. Didn't say a word on the drive home. Didn't need to. I didn't cry, didn't yell. Just felt clean. Like I'd finally taken off a heavy coat I'd been dragging through the mud for way too long. The fallout came fast. Someone posted the video online before I even got home. By morning, it was everywhere. Groom walks out, mid-reception after brutal toast. Comments lit up like fireworks. The country club dropped Helen and Richard by Monday. Helen's charity board voted her out the next day. And Tom Whitaker. He saw the clip. Called Richard in that week. Didn't yell, didn't debate, just reassigned him to manage a supply hub out in rural Alabama, some warehouse near Dothan. I didn't gloat, didn't say a word, just packed up the wedding gifts, wrote a short note, and mailed them back with receipts. I returned every dime they spent, even the bourbon. That Sunday, me and my dad grilled burgers in the backyard like we always did. No big speeches, just ketchup, smoke, and silence. A week later, he walked into the garage while I was changing the oil on a customer's truck. He had a folder in his hand, beat-up blue one with our shop's logo faded on the front. "You want in?" he asked. "The shop's yours if you're serious." Time to pass the torch. I wiped my hands, stood up, and shook his hand. Firm, solid. "Yeah," I said. "Let's do this." That handshake meant more than any ring or speech ever could.